Hey everybody, my name is James Tynan, and I'd like to take a little bit of time with you today, if I may, to tell you about my story and my testimony and where I've come from and what I've come out of. I'm coming at you from the high school Newington track here, and I like to come here to kind of get my mind centered and um, and to put in some recovery work. And God knows I need a lot of it. But Chrysalis has been there to help me get to where I need to be, to have the foundation I need to be able to see myself the way the vision of myself that I truly wish to see. And I wouldn't have been able to do it had it not been for the support that I received from Chrysalis. So back in 2010, I joined the Marine Corps, and I joined the infantry. My folks weren't too happy about that, but hey, a boy's got to do what a boy's got to do, to become a man, right? And so I had something to prove to myself, and so I joined this group, this dream of mine that I've always had ever since I was a kid, to become more, to be part of something more. And I achieved this dream, something that I thought was just a fairy tale. And then here it was right in front of me as I'm receiving the Eagle Globe and Anchor. It was surreal. It was like a movie. And, I'm ready to conquer the world at this point. And so, as soon as I get out from boot leave, I immediately get orders to go to Afghanistan for a combat deployment. It's like, okay, conquering the world requires me to first go through Afghanistan. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, but this is what I was trained to do. This is my job. Okay, this is why I signed up. I signed up knowing I am going to deploy. So here it was. It's a little bit quicker than I anticipated. So put the big boy pants on, just suck it up, and just do what you got to do. So I go, and I am gung ho, and it's tough. The training is tough. The deployment is tough. And toward the end of the deployment, when we got off a vehicle-mounted patrol, I had suffered a fall and sustained an injury to my leg, and it ended up breaking my leg. And they flew me out to another base, and my leg didn't really heal correctly. So they kept a loose cast on for the inflammation, but I never got a tighter cast to put on. The loose cast ended up fraying apart. I ended up just cutting it off because it was in the way. It wasn't doing anything. It was just interfering with my ability to be able to get around. And so I basically hobbled on crutches without a cast for a little bit, putting a lot of unnecessary weight on that leg. It didn't heal right. So upon returning from Afghanistan and going through many trials during that deployment, that really facing a lot of things I've never experienced before. But being a Marine, you kind of just compartmentalize that and you tuck it off into the corner. And you're not really equipped or trained to process emotional issues. So what we do is we just tuck them down and we just deal with them through through therapy, when that time comes. But in the meantime, it's just, I'm not even going to think about it. But it's in the background. It's always there. And it's just like picking at you and nagging at you, and it just builds and accumulates. Anyways, so I end up getting back home, having this injury, and I'm not able to return to my old job as a chef. I have 2 culinary arts degrees, and I was working at the MGM Casino at one of the finest restaurants, cooking for celebrities every single day. And I loved this job. Loved the people that I worked with, but I could not go back to that job because I couldn't put weight on that leg. So instead of going back to work, we opted to I'll stay home with the kids so we don't have to pay childcare, because at this time my son was just born in 2012 as soon as I get back. And so we're basically just focusing on taking care of the kids, nursing the injury, and over time, finances became kind of an issue. This led to the breakdown in my marriage at the time, and the financial issues was basically the straw that broke the camel's back, and it unearthed a whole lot of other underlying issues that I had been carrying with me from Afghanistan, and PTSD, things that I was not properly addressing at the time. And so it all came out like a flood, and it inevitably led to the breakdown of this relationship in 2018, 2017, 2018. And during this time, I fell on hard times. I left the apartment that I was in. I moved away from my ex-wife and my wife at the time, and my kids. We were going through the process of divorce, and I basically couch surfed. I had plenty of friends, I could rely on that would take me in and kind of help me out in this situation. The problem is that during this time, going through the unearthing of the PTSD and dealing with the depression of the divorce and the chaos and the stress of the divorce, I ended up resorting to drinking. And that drinking became an everyday thing, to where it became my method and my means to be able to cope with stress. It led to me to become very unhealthy, and just not motivated, not prioritizing the things that I should have been prioritizing, throwing my money away, and I ended up losing my job. I had a great job at the time, working in the aerospace industry, on avionics, and testing, building, diagnosing issues within the avionics system. And I loved this job, but I could not maintain this job under the conditions that I was subjecting myself to. And I was looking for support and validation and comfort in any way that I possibly could, even through the wrong women that I was dating at the time. And that created a whole nother just compounded stress upon stress upon stress, to the point where I had basically just thrown up my hands in the air and I said, I give up. I can't do this anymore. I see no vision, no future, no purpose for my life. And I gave up at that point, and I just cried. I just cried. And I was with my father. I was living with my father at the time, and he ended up kicking me out because I had come home at 3 o'clock in the morning just wasted. And he said, look, I love you, but you can't be coming in here at all hours of the night, drinking, and you just can't be doing this. So it's you either have to go or you need to stop drinking. And I chose the alcohol. I left. And I was like, I couldn't just stop. It was so difficult. I wanted to put it down, but I couldn't. So I called a buddy of mine, I called a friend, and I said, look, I don't know what to do. I am just beyond myself right now, and I have no answers. And he said, I need you to call the VA first thing in the morning. And that's exactly what I did. And I got linked up to their homeless department. And they immediately gave me supplies, and they said, we're going to look for getting you shelter. Within 3 days, I was in a veteran's shelter. And I was being taken care of by another fellow veteran who was my case manager. And he said, look, I don't want you to focus on anything except for not drinking. Just come to me every single day, and I will tell you what the plan of the day is. And so because I had that extra support, I was able to follow his lead, and he led me in the right way, and I was able to kick that addiction. At least initially, I was able to get through the throes of it. After a few months, through going through recovery and working with my case manager, Michael, fellow Marine, and going through the IOP program through the VA, which is an advanced inpatient program for alcohol use and other substances as well, but for me it was alcohol. And we ended up, after a few months, I ended up achieving all my goals, and the VA found a facility for me. This is when they linked me up with Chrysalis. And this is where Chrysalis came in for me, that I was just taken back. I couldn't believe what they were helping me with. I thought I was going to get a little bit of help, but what they did for me was they gave me a foundation to be able to grow from. They gave me a place to stay which I didn't have a place to stay at that point, and I had no staying power within me. But they gave me this place to stay in this foundation where I was able to grow and cultivate this staying power. And if that makes sense. And so I I got linked up with Chrysalis, and they gave me this apartment, and they said, this is yours, you know. And through this act of generosity, I was able to reestablish consistency with with visitation with my kids. And so I was able to present to the court that I have stable housing and that I am in a stable living situation, and the court allowed me to be able to, through the visitation agreement, to be able to get my kids every other weekend. This was the biggest thing for me, because prior to that, we had no visitation agreement in place to where I could see the kids on a designated time. And so this was huge news. And so this was like, I'm starting to see a vision for myself, coming out of the darkness. And so I began to just really give it my all, and toward recovery, working on this depression within me, which was very difficult actually, but it required VA, through working with the VA, many different med changes and things like this, and eventually working my way off the meds. And it was just incredibly difficult, but I had an action plan, and my plan was to maintain sobriety, to establish consistency with the kids, to work on my health, and get through school and get my bachelor's degree. And that is exactly what I did. During the 4 years that I was with Chrysalis, I've gotten my bachelor's degree. I've completely recovered from alcohol use and substance abuse, and I am no longer suffering with the throes of depression that I once suffered with. I'm able to adequately manage my symptoms to where now I'm actually able to get out of the house. I'm able to see myself in such a way where I can actually, have hope for the future. And this gives me a sense of joy. It gives me a sense of purpose. And this is something that I couldn't have achieved alone. I didn't have it within me. I had to connect. I had to reach out and find those connections. And Chrysalis was there. I had a need, and they were there to provide for me what it was that I needed in order to get back up on my feet. And I thank Chrysalis every single day in my mind. I thank them. I'm just like, man, I couldn't have gotten to where I am today without the support and the help of others. And it's brought me to a point where I see that now I'm in a stable place. Now I can give back, and I can help support others in the same way that Chrysalis has helped support me. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has contributed, that has supported, that has put time, effort, and energy into this project that is really bearing good fruit for people. It may not always be evident initially up front, because it's taken me 4 years. I had hoped I'd be out of this, within a year, but time is different for everybody. And for some people it can be faster. For some people it's a little bit slower. But one thing Chrysalis gave to me was the time that I needed in order to fully recover, to get to a place. Because there was a few times where I felt like, okay, I think I'm good. But if I had jumped out of the nest at that point, I just would have fallen straight down. Chrysalis was there to tell me, listen, there's no pressure. We're not forcing you through this. We want you to take the time that's necessary for you to fully heal and to grow and to get to where you need to be. And this reminds me a little bit of the idea of the caterpillar when he's in the chrysalis. He has to go through the entire transition. If you try to help him in any way when he's trying to make his way out, if you cut that cocoon just a little bit and try to push or force in any way, that could actually cause the death of the butterfly. So it's important to allow nature to take its course. And I know for some people it's a little bit longer than it is for others, but we all have different needs. We're all going through different things internally and externally. But Chrysalis was there to give me everything that I needed to be able to pick myself up and to get to where I need to be, which is right here at the track, running a couple of laps and getting myself in order. So I just want to say thank you to y'all for helping me get to where I am, back from practically crawling to walking to running. So thank you, everybody, and God bless you. So we got to do it as a team. If we don't do it as a team, then they might attack just one of us. No, we got to get up, move. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on, move, 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 move. Let's go, move, one at a time. Bound, bound, bound. Scream. Where's your war scream? Rah!